Hey everyone, I hope you've been enjoying the new moon in Aquarius readings I'm putting out. And I'm thinking for Valentine's Day, maybe I should put out some special readings for, love readings, right? You don't do that too much because I don't know if you have noticed, like my style is to look at the whole life, right? But for Valentine's Day, maybe we'll put some love readings out, exciting stuff I hope you'll enjoy. And while I'm talking about that, let me also say I'm probably going to be running a sale on my love and relationship readings. And that's, really important. I'll talk more about that at the end of this video if you stay with me to the end. But the main reason I want to talk to you guys is about helping my viewers know who their ideal life partner is. I wish I had known this sooner in life. My kids, all three of my daughters know this. And I'm going to give you some astrology tips for how you can figure this out about yourself. And of course, if you want help with that, I'm available for readings. Okay, several considerations. Know, number one, your Venus placement. What is your love nature? How do you love and need to be loved? Very important, because we all have different love natures, okay? And sometimes when you are looking at synastry between yourself and another person, you can see, why maybe your love nature works with theirs and not with others, right? Usually if you, let's say you've got a water sign, Venus, that usually goes well with other water signs, or Earth. If you've got Earth, same thing. You probably would do well with other Venus signs who have an Earth Venus, or water. And then fire and air also go very well together. And that's just generally speaking. There's a lot more considerations, like your Mars placement has a lot to say about how you assert yourself, not just out in public, but behind closed doors. Oh yeah. So if you are doing, say, synastry between yourself and another person to say, am I going to be compatible with this person? Look at that Venus and Mars placement to see how well the two of you work with each other. But regardless of synastry and other people, you just want to know this about yourself. You want to understand yourself. I think that a lot of people run into difficulties in relationships because they're not self-aware, and they are meeting other people who are also not self-aware, and maybe who they think they are is based upon who they think they need to be to get acceptance, or what their family and friends or culture said they need to be. And and this is how we get into a lot of problems, by the way, with, you find at my age, a lot of people will say, oh, the person I married in my 20s was the person my friends and family wanted me to marry, or something along those lines. But as you get older and you become a lot more self-aware, you start realizing, no, I really need somebody who loves me like this, or somebody who's like XYZ in the bedroom. And like I said, these things can be known in the astrology and also the synastry, which is the astrology between yourself and another person. Other considerations that you should look for when you're looking at your natal chart, trying to understand who would your ideal life partner be. Look at your 5th house, which has to do with fun, dating, romance, and that will give you an idea of what your romantic life is probably like in this life, and any transits going through it at this time. Like if you have Uranus going through your 5th house at this time, I know somebody who's going through that right now, and they started out just wanting to, have fun, play around, switch partners a lot. And as they're coming out of that transit, now they're kind of wanting to settle down, but having trouble finding people to really settle down with. And unfortunately, that's the transit they'll be dealing with for maybe, another 3 years or so. Okay. So pay attention to that 5th house, what you're carrying in your natal chart for life, and the transits going through that as well. Another house to consider, of course, is your 7th house, having to do with marriage, long-term committed partnerships, legal contracts. So that'll give you an idea of what kind of marital partners would be like commitment material for you. That's also, by the way, your descendant, which is a house that I would look at opposite of your ascendant, right? That tells you likely the sign that you would be, or the characteristics of that sign that you would be attracted to. For example, I'm an Aquarian with a Pisces stellium, but I have a Taurus rising. That's my ascendant, right? So in the 1st house, Taurus for me, which is opposite sign, opposite house, 7th, is Scorpio. So if I were to be with a water sign, I would probably do best with a Scorpio or somebody with a prominent Scorpio placement. Okay, so look at that 7th house, what's going on for you with your natal chart and these lifetime placements that stay with you regardless of transits. But then, of course, look at transits going on because, for example, I'll probably tell a story in another video about a client of mine who was trying to get a commitment out of a guy who was having trouble getting out of a relationship from his past, and he had Saturn in his 7th house. And I had to tell her, honey, I'm sorry, but this guy's probably not going to lock anything down until this transit ends. He's like got another 2 years, and until then he's dealing with a lot of heavy karma having to do with relationship commitments. So very important, again, not only to look out for yourself and another person if you are dating someone, what are they going through and what is the likelihood of the two of you meshing in a timeline that you had envisioned. Of course, there's 8th house, which has to do with sex, okay, and power dynamics in relationships. So check out that 8th house, very, very private house, okay. And also, I am very fond of looking at Juno placements because your Juno placement can tell you who your ideal life partner likely is. And look at what's going on around. So I kept this kind of actually simple because if you got a reading from me, I'd not only tell you all this information in your chart, but I talk to you about aspects going on in your chart. For example, I have a Juno placement in Aries, which has helped me understand, why am I attracted to Aries? Why are Aries attracted to me? I have this affinity for them. I tend to have a lot of chemistry with them, which never quite works out well. Why? Well, if you look closer at that chart, you can see, my Chiron in Aries is sitting right next to it. So a lot of pain points there, right? And so Chiron is normally something I wouldn't look at unless I was doing a healing reading for a client, okay? But again, when these things come up where I see a pain point around your dating life, your ideal life partner, your committed partnerships, I would bring it up. Like I had one client who was in her mid-30s, never married, never really even had a serious relationship. And she's like, why? Because she had been so successful with her career and she's surrounded by doctors every day. Like, why isn't she married at 35? And I looked at her chart and she had Saturn in her 7th house. So I said, okay, there's a lot of restriction here with, getting a committed partnership. So I will say, that it's not that you can't get married. It's just that, you're going to probably be attracted to somebody who is a lot more mature in age, and you yourself may not marry until later in life with that placement. But once you do finally settle down, this is going to probably be a very solid person. And so I talked to her about that. Why would you want to know these things? Well, it's like this lady I'm telling you, she's been successful in every other area of life, and you begin to start questioning, like, damn, am I cursed? What's going on here? And then when you look at the astrology, it helps you to understand why, what is happening, or if you're going through a transit, and then it gives you a timeline of knowing when you're going to come out of this thing. Or if you're waiting on somebody who's going through a difficult transit, like that client of mine who was trying to get a commitment from a guy who's going through that Saturn in his 7th house, I told her, I gave her time frame. I said, like, you're going to have to, probably just going to be like 2 years, 2.5 years. All right. Buckle up. Right. And by the way, she ended up getting a commitment out of him after that transit. I'm probably going to share that story in another video. But anyway, I've gone long enough, and I hopefully shared with you the things that you need to look at. 5th, 7th, 8th houses. Also look at the Venus and Mars for sexual and romantic compatibility, and look at that Juno placement. If I left anything out, if you thought of something I left out, please put it in the comments down below. And if you want me to do a reading for you to tell you all these juicy little tidbits about yourself that every person should know, to not waste your time with people who are just not going to work out, and make more space in your life for the people who will, well, reach out to me. I'll be running a Valentine's Day sale, 20% off for the week of Valentine's Day. Yes, during that week. Okay, thanks for listening. I hope that blessed y'all. Y'all take care.